Zainab sat in the herbalist's small, dark waiting room, staring at the flickering candle by the corner. The place smelled of burnt herbs, camphor, and something sour she couldn't name. 3 other women sat beside her, all looking desperate, all silent. She had never imagined her life would come to this. At 34, Zainab had been married for 6 years. Her husband, Femi, was patient at first. He said God's time was best. But after the 3rd year, things changed. His mother began visiting more often. She brought new prayer points and fertility oils every month. Her eyes always scanned Zainab's stomach like she was judging a piece of fruit. Zainab tried everything: hospital scans, fertility drugs, IVF. Nothing worked. Her doctor had told her the womb looked fine, but conception wasn't happening. She stopped telling anyone when her period came. She only cried quietly in the bathroom. Her friend Halima had whispered about the herbalist in Ajegunle. She doesn't advertise. She works in silence. Women go to her, and in 3 months, they come back pregnant, Halima said. That's how Zainab found herself sitting on a hard wooden bench that evening, clutching her handbag like it held her future. She noticed a woman in white lace walk out of the herbalist room. Her belly was huge. She looked like she was due any moment. But something about her eyes caught Zainab's attention. They were too wide, too alert, almost scared. Their eyes met for a second. The woman looked away quickly and disappeared into the street. A door creaked open. Next, a raspy voice said from inside. Zainab stood. Her hands trembled. She stepped into the room, and her nose filled with thick smoke and a smell like roasted animal skin. Behind a wooden table sat a short, dark-skinned woman with red beads around her neck. Her eyes were cloudy but sharp. You are the one looking for a child, the herbalist said without asking. Zainab swallowed hard. Yes, Ma. The woman smiled. You are not barren. But your womb is not in your body. Zainab froze. What do you mean? The woman leaned forward. Your womb has been taken. Zainab blinked, unsure if she heard correctly. What do you mean, taken? She asked slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. The herbalist didn't answer immediately. She stood and moved towards a clay pot by the wall. Smoke drifted from it as she stirred something with a wooden stick. The room felt hotter. More confusing. Zainab's heartbeat was loud in her ears. You came to me for cleansing. That's not what you need, the herbalist said. Your womb is not with you. It has been shifted. Spiritually. You can't carry a child because another woman is using it. Zainab stared. How is that possible? The woman turned to her. It is very possible. Some wombs are stronger than others. Some women are desperate. Some seek power. Some just want children at all cost. Zainab's head spun. She thought she was coming for herbs. Something to boost her body. Not this, whatever this was. The herbalist went to a small calabash covered with black cloth. She removed the cover and brought it to the table. Inside was a thick, dark liquid. You must look into it. You will see, she said. Zainab hesitated. Look. She leaned in. The liquid was still. Then it began to shift, like a video playing inside water. Slowly, images formed. She saw herself on her wedding day. Then she saw her in-laws' house. Then another woman, darker, older, appeared. She was at a shrine, kneeling. She held something in her hand that looked like a pad soaked with blood. She whispered to the priest and dropped it into a fire. Zainab pulled back. Her hands were shaking. What is this? That's the moment your womb was stolen, the herbalist said calmly. The woman you saw, she gave your womb to someone else. Zainab's eyes filled with tears. But who? Why? The herbalist stirred the calabash again. The woman who used your womb now carries your child. If you want it back, it will cost you. Zainab stared, heart pounding. How much? The woman looked up. Her voice dropped low. Not money. Something deeper. Zainab's heart dropped. She had expected the herbalist to mention a fee. Maybe 100,000 naira. Maybe more. But when the woman said it wouldn't cost money, something inside Zainab shifted. She couldn't explain the feeling, it was like stepping into a place where normal rules no longer applied. Something deeper. Zainab asked, voice shaking. The herbalist nodded slowly. This is not about buying and selling. What has been stolen must be exchanged. If you want your womb back, you must give something in return. Something that holds value. Zainab's throat went dry. What kind of thing? The herbalist turned and picked a white chalk from a tray. She began to draw lines on the floor, symbols Zainab didn't understand. Think well before you agree. This part is not for the weak, she said without looking at her. Zainab felt trapped. Every year she stayed barren, her marriage grew colder. Every hospital visit ended in disappointment. Now, someone was telling her another woman was using her womb to carry her own baby. How could she sit still? What do I have to do? Zainab asked, her voice flat. The woman finally looked up. You must replace the vacancy. Zainab frowned. I don't understand. The herbalist spoke slowly. The woman who is pregnant with your womb is protected. She made a deal. Her child cannot be taken unless you offer another space for the spirit to rest. Zainab blinked. You want me to give someone else my womb? The woman smiled slightly. Not your womb. Something equal. A part of you that you won't miss until it's gone. Silence filled the room. Zainab didn't know what to say. Choose, the woman said. Your womb or your peace. One must go. Zainab closed her eyes. When she opened them, she whispered, I want my womb back. The herbalist nodded. She picked a sharp blade from the table and dropped it into the calabash. Come back in 3 days, she said. You will dream tonight. Your answer will be in the dream. Do not tell anyone what you've done. Zainab stood. Her legs felt weak. As she stepped out of the room into the dark street, the wind blew hard against her face. She had just made a decision she could never undo. That night, Zainab couldn't sleep. She turned from side to side in bed, her heart heavy with fear. Femi was snoring beside her, unaware of the storm brewing inside his wife. She stared at the ceiling, her mind racing through everything the herbalist had said. A part of you that you won't miss until it's gone. What did that mean? By 2 a.m., Zainab finally drifted off. But the sleep was not peaceful. In the dream, she found herself standing in a wide, empty field. The sky above was dark, but there were no stars, no moon. Everything felt quiet, too quiet. Then she saw a baby crying in the distance. The sound echoed through the field. She ran towards it, but the more she ran, the farther the baby seemed. Then, from the corner of her eye, she saw a woman. The same one from the vision in the calabash. The woman was now heavily pregnant, kneeling beside a burning fire, whispering something Zainab couldn't hear. Zainab tried to move closer, but her feet were stuck in the earth. When she looked down, she saw roots growing from her legs, wrapping around her ankles. The fire grew larger. The woman looked up and pointed at Zainab. You must pay, the woman said, her voice loud and echoing. Suddenly, a table appeared in front of Zainab. On it were 3 items, a razor blade, a Bible, and a photo of her younger sister, Miriam. Zainab was confused. She reached out to touch the photo, but it burst into flames. The fire spread across the field. She turned to run, but the roots held her tight. Then she heard the herbalist's voice, soft but clear. Choose. You want your womb? You must give up peace. Zainab woke up screaming. Femi jumped out of bed. What is it? Zainab. Are you okay? She looked at him, eyes wide with fear. She couldn't speak. He touched her shoulder. You're sweating, you had a bad dream. Zainab nodded slowly. But deep down, she knew it wasn't just a dream. It was a message. And time was running out. Zainab couldn't stop thinking about the dream. She sat on the edge of the bed that morning, staring at the wall as Femi got ready for work. He kissed her cheek, but she barely moved. Her mind was stuck on the 3 items from the dream: the razor blade, the Bible, and Miriam's photo. What did it mean? Later that day, Zainab made her way to Ajigona again. She didn't wait for anyone to call her in this time. She pushed open the wooden door. The herbalist looked up like she was expecting her. "You saw it," the woman said. Zainab nodded. "What does it mean?" The herbalist rose slowly and walked to the corner of the room. She picked up a gourd and poured a dark drink into a small clay cup. "You saw the blade. That's pain. You saw the Bible. That's your conscience. You saw your sister, that is the peace you must give up." Zainab frowned. "What does Miriam have to do with this?" The woman didn't answer. She pointed to the seat. "Sit." Zainab obeyed. Then the herbalist brought out a small mirror and placed it in front of Zainab. "Look." Zainab stared into it. The reflection was not hers alone. She saw a woman walking through Baligan Market, carrying a baby bag. She wore a pink blouse, her round belly pushing against the fabric. Then the camera-like view shifted and focused on her face. Zainab gasped. It was her husband's cousin, Tope. Tope had moved from Ibadan to Lagos just 2 years ago. She stayed in Femi's family house for a while. She was always sweet, always helping with chores, always calling Zainab auntie. But she got pregnant recently and moved out. No one knew who the father was. "That's her," Zainab whispered. The herbalist nodded. "That is the one carrying your womb." Zainab's blood ran cold. "Is she the one who took it?" she asked. "No," the woman said. "She's the one using it. The one who took it is closer than you think." Zainab's heart dropped. "Who?" The woman didn't answer. Instead, she said, "If you want your womb back, you must take it while it is still inside her. Before the baby comes." Zainab blinked. "How?" The herbalist looked at her. "That is what the next visit is for." Zainab left the herbalist's hut with heavy steps. Tope. She kept repeating the name in her head. How could it be her? Tope was young, barely 26. She came to Lagos claiming she needed work and shelter. Zainab had opened her arms. She gave her food, a place to stay, and treated her like a younger sister. The betrayal stung. Zainab sat on a bench outside a corner shop in Suraleh, her mind running in circles. Her phone rang. It was her mother-in-law. "Zainab, you never came to visit me," the old woman said. "Tope came yesterday. She brought me fruits. That girl has sense." Oh. Zainab forced a smile. "Sorry, Mama. I've been tired." "Tired? You better not let her take your place," Mama warned. "Some women are smart. They know how to enter a man's heart." Zainab's stomach turned. The words hit differently now. Later that evening, Zainab sat quietly at dinner while Femi scrolled through his phone. She looked at him closely. Something about his calmness annoyed her. Could he know what was going on? Had Tope told him anything? "Have you seen Tope lately?" she asked, pretending to be casual. Femi didn't look up. "She called me last week. Said she's getting closer to her due date." "Did she ever say who got her pregnant?" He shrugged. "She just said it was complicated." "Why are you asking?" Zainab shook her head. "Just curious." Femi gave her a quick glance, then went back to his phone. But Zainab saw something in his eyes. A flicker. Something he was hiding. That night, she couldn't sleep again. She opened her old photo albums and started flipping through the pages. One photo caught her attention. It was from 4 years ago, at a family party. Tope was standing beside Femi, smiling. His hand rested casually on her shoulder. Zainab had never noticed that before. Her heart pounded. Had this started long before now? The next morning, she got dressed and headed back to the herbalist. This time, she didn't want visions. She didn't want warnings. She wanted a plan. Zainab stared at the paper all night. She sat in the kitchen, the lights off, her back resting against the wall. The house was quiet. Femi was asleep. But inside her, everything screamed. How could she choose? Her eyes kept going back to Miriam's name. Her younger sister. The girl who had taken care of her when she had her first miscarriage. The girl who always brought her food when she was too weak to cook. The one person who never judged her. But the other names were not easier either. There was her cousin, Halima, the one who had borrowed money from her last month. There was Ngozi, her friend from church, the same one who always held her hand during altar calls and told her, "Z, one day you'll carry your child." And then there was Bizi, her neighbor, a mother of 2 boys. Zainab felt like her chest would burst. She stood up and went to the mirror in the hallway. Her face looked tired, older. Her eyes were red. She hadn't cried yet. Not once. But now, the tears finally came. Why did it have to come to this? Suddenly, her phone buzzed. It was a WhatsApp message from Top. "Auntie Z, I was wondering, can I come and stay with you for a few days before I give birth? I don't feel safe where I'm staying." Zainab's heart stopped. It was as if the universe had set the trap for her. This was the moment. If she said yes, Top would enter the house. The pot could be burned. The womb could be recovered. But, at what cost? Her hands were shaking as she typed back. "Yes, you can come. I'll prepare your room." She paused before sending it. Then she looked up and whispered, "God, please forgive me." She pressed send. Then she folded the list from the herbalist and walked to her backyard. There was a small spot behind the mango tree. She dug a hole with her bare hands, dropped the paper in, and covered it. She had made her decision. Now, everything would depend on the night Top arrived. Top arrived on a rainy Thursday evening. She was wearing a yellow gown that clung to her swollen stomach. Her face was tired, her eyes slightly puffy. Zainab welcomed her with a weak smile and took her bag. Femi wasn't home yet, and that was exactly what Zainab wanted. "Thank you, Auntie Z," Top said, sitting on the edge of the bed. "You don't know how much this means to me." Zainab nodded, her hands hidden in her wrapper. Inside her pocket was the clay pot from the herbalist, tightly sealed. "You should rest," Zainab said. "You must be tired." Later that night, after Top had bathed and eaten, Zainab lit a small candle in the living room. She waited until Top stepped out to get water, then quickly opened the pot and poured the ash onto a plate beside the flame. The smell filled the room at once. Top coughed. "Auntie, what's that smell?" Zainab forced a smile. "It's just a traditional herb, for blessings." But Top's face changed. She stared at the fire, eyes wide, her lips trembling. Suddenly, she dropped the cup of water and gripped her stomach. "Auntie, what's happening?" Zainab watched, frozen, as Top dropped to her knees, groaning. Her hands clutched her belly. "I feel heat inside, something is burning me," she screamed. Zainab rushed forward, not knowing what she was doing anymore. Guilt, fear, and anger swirled inside her. Top looked up at her with pleading eyes. "Help me." And that's when it happened. Top's scream turned into a strange echo. Her eyes rolled back, and a gust of wind flew through the window, blowing out the candle. Silence. When Zainab opened her eyes again, Top was passed out on the floor. But the fire on the plate had formed a shape, a tiny outline of a womb. Zainab touched her stomach. For the first time in 4 years, she felt a sharp, fluttering pain, then stillness. The next morning, Zainab woke up alone in the living room. Top was gone. So was her bag. Zainab never saw her again. Months later, Zainab missed her period. Then came the test. She was pregnant. But every night, she woke with fear. Would someone come for her child the way she almost came for Top's? Moral. Not everything that is taken must be reclaimed by force. Sometimes, what leaves you returns when you choose peace over revenge. Jealousy, pain, and bitterness can make us become what we hate the most.